So let's change gears here. Let me bring Michael back in. And what we can do now is start taking any of the questions. Now, I'm going to take a look at the questions that have already come in. Michael, anything you want to add if you want to talk about packages or anything special that you got going on? Now's a great time. I'm going to take a look at the questions, and then I'll jump back in a minute.
Okay, that sounds good. Thank you, Jimmy. I think Jimmy covered everything very well, and he'll answer any questions that you do have. At Joto, we do offer a full range of packages, from just the printer with inks and paper right up to the printer inks, paper, mug presses, mugs, the shirt press, everything you need other than the computer to get into business or to add to your own business. And it's all online, and we'd be happy to help anybody that is interested to, if they give us a call. And one of the sales rep from your area will be happy to help you out. For everybody that's attending the webinar, we are offering 2 show specials, or 1 show special, and 1 is just an ongoing special right now, to the end of the month. On all of our sublimatable items, we're offering last column pricing, or best column pricing, regardless of the quantity the customer purchases, until June 30th. So, for instance, for mugs, our price is 1 case, 2 to 4, and 5 plus. For the show special, or for this special, you'll get the 5 plus case price regardless of whether you buy 1 or 2 cases. Additionally, there's a Sawgrass promotion on right now for Rayco inks. If you purchase a full set of inks, you'll get a coupon for a free ink on your next purchase of a full set of inks. So quite a good savings, and I encourage everybody that is interested in this to take advantage of that.
Excellent. Sounds like a good way to kind of get started in to the sublimation business here. Okay, Michael, a couple of quick questions I have for you. For everybody, I know some of you got in late after we started. We have recorded this presentation, and that means that you can view it later. The video would be available for download. That would be something that would be through Joto, not through Sawgrass. Michael, will you be putting this online, the video, where people can access it?
Yes, we will. As soon as it's all been prepared, we'll have a link to it from our front page. Okay. That'll be live, and we'll always be there.
Okay, and I haven't been all through your website yet. I know one of the first questions is there a video demonstrating the actual sublimation process? And I know we have some at Sawgrass. I didn't know if you had some on your website.
You know, we don't yet. We are just actually currently working on that.
Okay.
But at this point, we don't.
Okay. In the meantime, Melanie, you could also go to sawgrassinc.com. And if you click on Education and Events, we have some how-to videos that will show you the sublimation process. So you can take a look at it. And it uses the same basic equipment for the most part that Joto sells.
Yeah, and if there's any questions after you watch that video, please feel free to contact us.
Okay, I have a question. If you sublimate both the front and back of a moisture-wicking shirt, do I need to use the Teflon pillow to protect the finished side? You know, there's a couple of different ways you can do it. First of all, a lot has to do with the garment itself, because you're worried about a couple of things here. Number one, you might be worried that the dye is bleeding all the way through from one side to the other. And with a lot of the really good quality garments, like most of the vapor garments, that really doesn't happen, okay? Though I normally, if I'm going to do front and back, I may actually stick newsprint, and I tend to use newsprint. You could use a sheet of Teflon inside the shirt just to make sure none of that happened. But going a step further, and this is where it gets a little deep, and I don't want to get deep here, you definitely, when you're sublimating apparel, there are some adjustments that you need to make, like on the pressure, maybe using foam pad or a Teflon pillow. And to learn really more about that, I actually did a webinar on that about a month ago. And if you go to the sawgrassinc.com education events, click on webcasts, and you can find your way into our webcast archives. You have to register the first time in, but there's no charge. And you can actually see a presentation on sublimating apparel that shows you how to do some of that setup. But, you know, I've done front and back without using anything else but maybe a blowout sheet in between. Okay, this is for you, Michael. Does Joto carry Teflon sheets and Teflon pillows?
We don't carry the Teflon pillows, but we do carry the Teflon sheets.
Okay,
And
what
we also
about...
carry,
Yeah, go ahead. I'm
we
sorry.
also carry silicone. We find sometimes Teflon absorbs too much of the heat,
Right.
and it's not always necessary. So we do have silicone that after you use it, you just throw it out. You can use it several times, but that works quite well.
Cool. Okay. One other. Do you carry any of the spray adhesives? Because sometimes, especially with apparel,
For
you want to
ghosting.
use a very light adhesive to hold it in place.
No, actually, we don't stock that.
Something like that's readily available. I mean, there's plenty of sources that sell supplies for things like screen printing and all. The key is to get a very,
That's
very,
where it comes from.
yeah, a very light application of it, and you definitely want one that's what is just temporary tacking. You don't want one of the permanent ones. You never get the heat transfer off. But in other words, read the label, and I'm not suggesting that you wouldn't, and just pay close attention because they come in different degrees of tackiness. I guess that's one way to put it.
And it can also affect the high tech and affect the quality of the print too.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, the key is light, 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 light application. And the reason for anybody wondering maybe why they would use it, we have something called ghosting that can occur when the transfer paper slides on the item being decorated, and it can actually cause the edges to have sort of a fuzzy image, or in some cases it looks like some of the main image occurred outside the main image, and that's why I call it ghosting. It looks like a little ghost appeared. And you see that happening most often when you're opening the heat press after you've done, because you're releasing all that pressure real fast, and that may have a tendency for the paper to slide. So a lot of times people use a very light spray adhesive on the transfer paper to help hold it on that shirt so no ghosting occurs. Okay, next item. Why do I know this one well? Why do I see a blue fleck in the apparel I sublimate when there is no contact with an imprint paper? Key thing when you're sublimating apparel, you want to get one of those, I can't think of what it's called. It's the little rollers.
Lint brush.
Yeah, the lint roller thing, okay? And you want to roll the whole surface area, that definitely where you're going to imprint, and even larger. I mean, you want to roll the front of the shirt. When they manufacture shirts, a lot of times there's extra little fibers left behind that you really don't even see, and it may be part of the finishing process, so it's not so much like loose threads you're thinking of. But when you go through the sublimation, if those are there, they're going to turn into those little blue flecks that you're seeing. So definitely use the lint roller to get off, and you'd be surprised how much stuff it picks up, to clean that surface before you sublimate it. All right, next question is, how does the Ricoh printer compare to Epson? Now, I believe you carry the Epson 4880. Is that correct?
Yeah, and the Ricohs.
And the two Ricohs.
That's correct.
In this particular case, well, I actually should probably let Michael. I'll touch on. I'll let Michael finish it up. One of the key differences between the Ricoh 4880, Epson 4880, it's an 8-color printer, and it's a pretty large field compared to the Ricohs, which are 4-color. And a lot of it has to do what is it you want to do. And I'll really let Michael elaborate, since he carries both, and he can tell you a little bit more about maybe why you choose one over the other.
Yes. For me personally, I think the only reason would be is for size. If you have to go beyond 13 by 19, then you have no choice but to use the 4880, because it will do 17-inch wide paper. As far as quality and the rest of it goes, I think the color quality and the speed is faster in the 7000 and the 3300 actually. So
That's true.
It's really, to me, it's really just about size. I don't think there's maybe a small, not even as safe as an ink actually, because the price per page print cost for the Ricohs is relatively low actually. It's very reasonable. So it really just comes down to size.
Right. 5, 6, 7 years ago, an 8-color printer traditionally had better color than a 4-color. But the technology has improved so much that with the Ricohs, which are 4-color, they're holding their own against the 8 color. We still have some photographers who are really focused on things like skin tones, who feel like an 8 color system gives them a little better color clarity than a 4 color.
I'd
But
agree with that, actually, yes.
yeah, if that's not your mainstream, you can produce some beautiful photography with the 4 color Ricos, and you'll be just fine. Okay, next question. Can you use the heat tape for a transfer on apparel? You can. One of the tricky parts about heat tape on apparel is getting the blasted thing back off because of the way it sticks. Heat tape peels off a hard substrate a lot easier than it does apparel. And I find that I struggle sometimes getting the whole thing loose, and I'm afraid this whole transfer is shifting while I'm trying to do it. Because you want that transfer to come off nice and clean. In fact, a lot of times when we're doing a transfer on a hard substrate, let's say a plaque, and we use a couple of pieces of tape, instead of trying to peel the tape off, we just grab the paper and rip it in half and while we're pulling it away from the surface so that we don't have any ghosting. And then we can just, pull it, tape and everything off. You can't do that with apparel because it's soft. If you try to rip it and pull it away, it just pulls the shirt together and you get ghosting. So you could, but I don't really recommend it. Okay, additional questions? Now, I have on the screen both my email address and Michael's email address so that you can get in contact with either one of us if you have follow-up questions after this event. So, feel free to do that. That's an easy way to get in touch with us. We're both here to help you, find the right answers to whatever questions you have, whether it be applications, equipment, techniques, troubleshooting, whatnot. That's what we're here for. So we encourage you to contact us and take advantage of our help for anything that you need.
Absolutely.
So I believe we're going to go ahead and wrap it up there. And Michael, I want to thank you for having me out today. Now, just to get Michael off the hook, I'm the one who's actually going to be processing the video. So it'll probably be tomorrow before Michael has the video. But once he does, he'll post it where you guys can get to it. And then you can watch it and share it with other members in your company or whatnot, learn a little bit from it. So with that said, I really appreciate the opportunity for being here. Feel free to contact me with any questions you might have.
Thanks for everybody coming from Joto, and we look forward to receiving any comments or questions from anybody that has any.
Okay, well, we'll see all you guys later. Bye.
Bye-bye.